Other yellow hat guy here, back with another video. And today we are going to talk Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I almost wanted to call it TMNT, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. So, I gotta be honest, I did not initially want to see this movie. A huge Turtle fan, got to meet Kevin Eastman, I collected a bunch of those toys, watched all the shows. I mean, Turtles was life. And a dream of mine as a kid was when I actually had cable to see Ninja Turtles on Nickelodeon. Like, why wasn't it on there where they could repeat the episodes? Instead, it was on, like, CBS or whatever, where Saturday mornings was the only time you could see it. Nickelodeon played Rocko's Modern Life, Doug, all those shows multiple times a week. And Ninja Turtles, I didn't know it, but they had a couple seasons that had like 30 plus episodes, like 40, yeah, Google it. A lot of episodes. Anyway, multiple iterations of that series has happened since then. If you know your lore, Turtles is a comic, loosely inspired by the ninjas of Daredevil, the hand, right? So you got the foot soldiers. I don't want to over-explain everything, but each iteration of Turtles have been different from the source material, but what usually remains is Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, Splinter, etc. So, in this version, they look very kiddie, they look very goofy, the animation was not my cup of tea. But I decided to give it a chance anyway, just because, well, I know everyone's watching Oppenheimer and Barbie and maybe Mission Impossible still. None of those interested me enough to say I have to see those now. I feel like Mission Impossible would be what I'm looking at soon, but I'm not sitting through Oppenheimer right now. Same reason why I didn't sit through Avatar. And Barbie, while I'm hearing good things, it might need to be a at-home movie for me. We'll see. I'm still going to get to Dungeons and Dragons, by the way. So back to the story at hand, Ninja Turtles. I got to see that with some friends, and I got to be honest, I enjoyed this movie. Now, some small nitpicks aside, the animation wasn't my thing, but they did a lot of different blends of how things were. Into the Spider-Verse, which I still have yet to see, or Across the Spider-Verse, I should say. It's got the same kind of style that has, and I feel like some people who worked on that movie or those movies worked on this. Now, Seth Rogen, I was like, man, don't make it too goofy, but let's be honest, he has the whole teenager vibes, he has that whole energy, and he brought that to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's done a great job with The Boys on Amazon, and here he continues with this. So, one thing I will say, this movie, they finally felt like teenagers again for the first time in decades. Maybe just a decade, but I would have to put this above all the Turtles movies. I would. I think you could argue, well, the first two live action movies are, if you're nostalgia blinders, like I have mine on, you could say that, this is behind those, but I really think it's better than those as it holds up more. Don't get me wrong, I can go back and rewatch those first two movies and not have a problem enjoying it, but I'm enjoying it as somebody growing up watching those movies. If I were to just watch those two movies today, I don't know if they'd have the same impact. Whereas this movie, it had no right to be as good as it was. It had no right to be. Slight spoilers, so skip in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And I'll let you know when those end if you want to just get my score. So the Turtles are just wanting to be accepted. And so the title Mutant Mayhem applies because the mutants aren't really accepted. You can imagine seeing a giant animal that can talk, how people would freak out. And it's if we're being honest, human nature, not like I'm anything but human. Though you never know, I can peel this off and be something different, right? No. Bad jokes aside, human nature is to just be suspicious of anything that's different from you. You know, if it's not something you recognize or something that's familiar, you're kind of looking like, what is that? Why is that? How is that? So, turtles were in that limelight where they're like, hey, we just want to be like normal teenagers. And we don't know how to do that because we've been constantly told that humans are going to, milk us, quote unquote. That's the running joke of this movie is that Splinter, they did something different with him. Instead of him actually learning martial arts, like being an actual martial artist, he just watched some videos. That was the backstory there. He watched some tutorials and taught the turtles because he had a situation where he went public and people judged him and threw stuff at him, and he actually lost the turtles. So this movie starts out showing you Baxter Stockman and how he created this ooze and how he was actually making mutants to kind of be accepted. So these mutants, once they, got free, they remembered that, right? They were taught by Superfly, who is not a character I'm familiar with. I believe it's a brand new character, a new villain. Ice Cube does a stand-up job with that. He was perfect for it. Ice Cube and Jackie Chan as Splinter, they were great. So Ice Cube's Superfly character, he thought, at least I thought he would merge with Baxter Stockman, but he didn't. He was his own thing. I don't know if they killed off Baxter Stockman or he'll be back, but we never saw like a funeral or a body or whatever. So that's not to say that character's done, but for this movie, he was just the setup. And they brought in a lot of the popular toy characters. I was very pleased with that. There was a few moments where I'm like Leo DiCaprio pointing at the screen like, yo, they did this. They called back to this. Wow. They had Wingnut in there. They had some British actress playing that voice. And, they brought Mondo Gecko in there. Paul Rudd did that, and that was dope. Mondo Gecko being one of my favorite side characters, him and Usagi Ojimbo. They had him in there. They had Bebop and Rocksteady. Seth Rogen, I believe, played Bebop. Somebody else played Rocksteady. I don't know who it was, but each of these characters got their own time to shine. Meaning, like, they had moment. They weren't just there to be antagonists. Like, they all had like a personality that this movie showcased, and I appreciated that. They didn't dust over anything. Everyone had like a purpose. I didn't want to like Donatello's voice, but I guess it grew on me. They gave him like a nerdy voice, and Donatello was always a little more confident in his abilities, maybe not around people or, like that, but, when it came to the technology and stuff. But, again, he was a teenager, so I'm thinking of the Donatello who, although they were teenagers on the show, they felt like, 17, 18-year-old teenagers, maybe even 19-year-old. But they were clearly like 13, 14-year-old teenagers. Anyway, didn't like his voice. I didn't like what they did with April, but they gave April her own thing. She could have been her own character. She didn't have to be April, and she was not a bad character. She wasn't the April O'Neil I grew up with, but she was still a good character on her own for the story, and I respect that. That was pretty cool. So those are really my only gripes. Splinter not, they made it a gag that, he didn't really learn martial arts from his sensei as a rat, or he wasn't a human exposed to mutagen and touched a rat. They didn't do any of that. So, I'm going to have to give this 4 out of 5 Earthworm Gems. Spoilers are in here. 1, 2, 3, like I said, 4 out of 5 Earthworm Gems if you're still with me. I'm going to have to give it that. Again, I didn't want to like the movie, but they did a really good job with it. Stay tuned for the credits after, because they tease a sequel, and somebody that you expect to be in there makes an appearance. And they had this one character, some lady, I can't remember who she was, who really wanted to get these mutants, and the mutants kind of learn that, you know, you're not going to be any better than the humans if you try to get rid of them all, because that was the bad guy's main point. That was the plot, was, hey, we're all brothers and cousins and sisters and everything. The humans won't accept us, so let's get rid of them. And the turtles, realizing that April is a good human and there's possibly other good humans out there, let's be heroes. Let's not do this to be accepted, but do it because it's the right thing to do. And that's always an important lesson. You know, turtles are always strike hard and fade away. And this went the opposite direction. It was, you know, doing the right thing is what counts, and whether it's accepted or not, it's still the right thing. So, yeah, I will let you guys go. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share. That's always a lesson. Not the like, comment, subscribe, share. Well, do that anyway, but the lesson is, you know, hey, integrity, character, all of those things are what you do when people aren't watching. And Turtles tried to show an adult lesson there while still being family friendly and funny. And, you know, it was a fast-paced movie. It was fast-paced. I don't remember any dull moments. They even skipped to, you know, 15 years later, showing the Turtles, probably 15 from when they interacted with the mutagen. So yeah, go see this movie, support it. Nickelodeon has full rights to the 1987 Turtles cartoon, so I can't wait for the sequel. Other Yellow Hat Guy is out. Captain Sensation!